one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
What is up? Welcome in, everybody, to the Creed of Crypto live stream podcast. How you doing? I am broke Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. We have a great show for you tonight. We are going to talk about, if you check out the thumbnail, we're going to talk about is the advertising and promotion of a 38% on average APY for Hex damaging to the brand when we advertise it? Not just we, anybody that does in the ecosystem. Or is it a good thing? Because it's something that a lot of people have hung their hat on as far as, promoting and talking about the product for a long time. So we're going to get into that because there's a lot of opinions going on about it. PulseChain, the ecosystem, not just it, but prices of a lot of things not looking so great right now, and continuing to dip as we kind of muddle our way through this bearish period that we are all in. We have a lot to get to. We're going to look at some recent Richard Hart tweets. We're going to acknowledge that Rags to Riches stream with the Crypto an attorney who was involved in crypto last week. Talk about that a little bit and a whole lot more. If you're making your way in right now, smash the like button. We very much appreciate you guys dropping in. We do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ewok, how are you feeling this evening?
Doing good. Another Wednesday, another FUD-filled week, I think. Lots of interesting things happening. I still feel like the Hexicans are still bonded together, but I'm starting to see a little division now that the SEC news has gone away. People are kind of picking back at each other again. So we need to kind of circle the wagons again and let everybody know we're on the same side here, guys. It's too early to be fighting.
I actually thought you were going to mention a lot of this stuff with going on with PDI and some of the other, because there's that too. Like I'm seeing people that are involved in that and some other things they've been pumping on PulseChain or calling everybody else PulseChain maxis. And now, it's just like subset of a subset of a subset. And it just... This happens everywhere in crypto, and it gets really tiresome. It is what it is. I mean, I like to be as open-minded as possible, but we're going to get to that too. We are going to talk about this PDI thing because I think it is worth a conversation, and there's a lot going on. So just a reminder, we talked about this last week. If you guys don't catch this live and are interested in the podcast platform, we do release a podcast version of this that's on, any podcast platform you want to check it out on, but just a little disclaimer there for you. I think most people probably dig live streams, but we're getting some listens on the podcast then, so just so you know that too.
Yeah.
What do you think? We'll start off with a slightly boring topic, and we've got a poll in there for everybody tonight. I want to ask the question that we are focused on tonight: is advertising the 38% APY a bad thing for Hex? You can kind of take that whichever way you want to, because we definitely want to hear your thoughts on it. Just real quick, touching on BTC and ETH in the greater market here. BTC is looking a bit bearish right now. It just went below 29K. It's about 28.7 right now. Really staying in this super, super low volatility channel that it has been in for months. Ethereum right at about 1,800. And then looking at this Pulse ecosystem, we're having some dips right now. Both hexes are taking a bit of a beating at the moment. Pulse that would be 54-ish% down off of the SAC rate. Still up off its low, but it's starting to trend down here again, down about 7% in the last day. Pulse X is 86% down from SAC rate, down 8.5% in the last day. Hex on PulseChain is at an even 0.8 now, which is as bearish as it's looked here for a bit, down 10% the last day. Then Hex on Ethereum is right at basically the exact 2 to 1, 4/10 of a penny. And down 15% in the last day. So yeah, some bleeding going on for sure right now. And you can point to a lot of reasons why and give a lot of narratives and stuff like that. But the bottom line is the chart's the chart, and you just kind of have to look at it. So before we get into our topics, just looking at the overall price stuff here, Ewok. What do you think about, if you want to touch briefly on the greater overall crypto market, but with this ecosystem, how much more downside could we have? Do you think, day 2 we talked about last week, the second day after the SEC filing, we saw Pulse itself. I know at least it was this low because I bought at the time, but it was down about 77%, I want to say, off the high, 67%. It was a 4 zeros and a 3-3. And we're up off of that. Do we revisit those lows? Could we put in a lower low and this whole thing takes even longer? What do you think as we're starting to see another kind of trend down here at the moment?
Yeah, I think, I mean, some people are just tired of waiting. They thought they were going to get this instant return. They have what they feel is a better investment for their capital. And what happens here, because everything is now tied to Pulse. Before, we were tied to, when it was just Hex on Ethereum, our biggest liquidity pair was USDC, right? So we had a floor. We had a solid floor, and it really only depended on people buying and selling. When people bought, you could tell price went up. When people sold, you could tell price went down. The problem is even with Hex right now, people don't have to buy or sell for that to go up or down. All they have to do is sell Pulse. If they sell Pulse, the price of Hex goes down, and in turn takes everything else with it.
Right.
Because there isn't a stable coin where most of the liquidity is held anymore. So it's really like a big rubber band. But as easy it is to bring it down, don't forget it's just as easy to bounce it back up with some major buys. So, just keep that in mind. Yeah, we could definitely go lower. Like I said, there's going to be weekends that get washed out, from now until whenever, as long as this takes. It could take a couple months. We've said till later in the year. I know we're approaching that September, October area-ish, where I think we had said before, maybe we get some relief then. It's going to be choppy until then. It really, just like I said, it depends on how many weekends there are still to wash out. And honestly, it's better to get them out now, I think. I would rather see these people sell at these prices than when it gets up really high. They're let's wash them out now. Let's start on a ground floor and go from there. It will be much solid moving forward if we get some of these weekends out. That's just my thoughts.
I do agree with that, and you just wonder how long it is going to take. But I want to shout out to, I sent it to you. I thought it was so good. But Ben Cage earlier today, Kayge, had a great stream today. Just these times, I think we all kind of underrate how good it is to just have a nice kind of resetting of expectations type stream like he did earlier today. Just talking about mindset right now with everything going on. And it's like, if you truly do believe in this ecosystem and it's something that you a few months ago thought was going to do very well in this bull market, and even more important, not just that you thought was going to do really well, but that you trusted more than anything else. I think that's really the major key with a lot of us in this ecosystem. I trust this infinitely more than almost anything else in crypto. That's really the big thing. Especially, we've seen so many landmines over the last 18 months. Hell, I mean, decade. But I mean, just as this market progresses, we've seen so many. And I think that's the big thing, is people just trust this. And you have to just remind yourself of that conviction. And it can be very easy to get fudded out. Ben was talking about, it's hard on Twitter because maybe you'll just get on there to browse for a moment, and you're going to have all that stuff infiltrate your feed inevitably. You can mute people if you don't want to see it. But, I know it's not easy to resist checking the charts and stuff like that. It isn't. Something that helps me is I like to just see the view of like the percentage of my portfolio. I just like to see like the pie chart and just see the percentages and forget about the balance or anything like that to remind yourself how down you are. But the percentages can kind of keep you in line. Like, okay, my plan is still in place here, even if it's not, at the volume I want it to be at or the price I want it to be at. So that always helps calm me down a little bit. But I think it's important to keep your head on a swivel during these times, because you can really get fudded out by a lot of these people.
Well, I think another important thing is DCA. If you've got dry powder left at this point, I know a lot of people have exhausted most of it, but even 50 or $100 at a time can get you some pretty sweet deals. Staying true, if you believe in the system, now is definitely the time to continue your DCA, because once it takes off, people love those green candles and they will be buying then instead of now, and just the, the returns on the possibility of what can happen at that point. It's just, get that average buy-in cost down. Like I said, I know we are down from sacrifice values, but the opportunity that we're given here is going to be a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah. I think people should try to remember that, and just remember that, like, as demoralizing as it can be right now, this will not last forever. And, before, like you said, before you know it, it could turn around. So I've been heeding that and DCAing where I can. And, it's another thing to remember too. You can always mine, stake, whatever you want to call it, Hex too. I mean, even if we've had a lot of discussions on here about like the 5-5-5-5 scenarios, and everybody feels different about how long they stake and things like that. But if you're not somebody that's into wanting to use the protocol in that fashion, you don't have to. And if you feel like you don't have enough money to DCA in right now, it is at least a little comforting to own more T shares, even if you just put it out a calendar year from now and just make one big stake or something like that, or whenever you think maybe the bull market may top, whatever, just something to give you automatic DCAs every day if you feel like you don't have enough. So
yeah, and remember, when you're mining or staking your Hex, you are earning HEDRON too, and you earn HEDRON, you can stake that and earn ICOSA. So there's plenty of little things that you can be doing just to earn more of everything. We saw some interesting news coming out with the HEDRON stuff too. So
we're gonna get to that.
Yeah, but it's just, there's always things to do to occupy yourself, rather than just sitting there staring at the charts and doom and gloom. Take advantage of what you can, and even at the things that don't cost you anything. That's more important.
Right. And that's what you're saying is totally true. Like, even though it may seem like little bits right now and stuff like that, if you're expecting at minimum, like, say, a 30x from where we're even at right now, I'm not talking from SAC rates, I'm saying right now on like the ecosystem. If you've got like a few grand and HEDRON and ICOSA just kind of working for you, that is going to be like, could be well, if your hypothesis is at least like a 30x from here, you're looking at easily six figures whenever things pick back up. So you just have to remember like how impactful that can be down the road, even if it doesn't seem like it right now. Have all these little machines working for you, in the meantime, when you don't even have to do anything other than click a couple of buttons.
Yeah, and that's another thing to think about too. If you do have some current Hex stakes ending, and people get a little upset that the fees are a little bit high. You almost have to picture them at a future value to understand that you just don't want them bleeding out either. You got to put a future value on it when you're ending that stake. I know you may have only made, say, 10,000 Hex or whatever. It's not a lot of money, and it may cost you a little bit more to unstake it if it was an early one. But you do have to put that future value and say, well, what would this be worth in 2 years? Because if you let it bleed out, that's future loss that you're giving yourself to for temporary price right now.
It's a great point, because that can be demoralizing too. You see how much you're ending a stake for, even in these times. Like, this is bare. I mean, I ended one on PulseChain earlier, but Gwei this morning was like 19.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see. I'm trying to snipe something in the low teens to end one on Ethereum, but it's like,
And it's like 30 right now, 29, 30.
yeah. So yeah, you want to remind yourself, yeah, because that can be demoralizing too. Like, my God, my end state costs more than the yield I earned. But
Right.
project it to what you think it may be in the bull market, and just remember that that's what you're actually doing this for. So you got to do some mental gymnastics in the meantime to keep yourself going. I mean, like, there's a reason people think we're psychos, because nobody can really sustain these times. Just bottom line, most people quit. Bottom line, and most things they do in life. And hey, this is going to test crypto's going to test your patience in ways nothing else you ever have been involved in will.
And we'll be the ones that they're calling lucky later.
Absolutely.
Know, that's the good side of it. They call us lucky because we were the ones that actually stayed, bought when we should have, and educated ourselves on what was going on.
Right. Yeah, they definitely will. That's what they do from afar. So nice little pep talk, I guess, anyway, for you. We're going to get into like more angles of that in a minute. I don't know how much time you want to spend on this Ewok. I know I don't want to spend a lot, but it was significant enough, and it's been developing over the last week. What's been going on with Sam Bankman-Fried? Actually,
can we get this comment first? We got super chat. It says, hello. Absolutely. Did you guys see Waters Above prediction of PulseChain and the entire market coming in September on Coffee's live stream yesterday? Not looking good. I'll let you go first, because I didn't see it. I don't watch.
I did see the first half of it. It started to get it went in a direction in the second half of stuff that I'm just not interested in that much. But the first half, as far as like pricing and charts and stuff, yeah, I mean, look, Waters Above has made some really good TA calls in the past, and what I do appreciate about him is that he is pretty stone cold when it comes to just like reading TA. And actually, he was totally right on where Hex sold off to into the PulseChain launch. He pretty much nailed it. I remember him and Randy Hilarski. He was on a stream with Randy, and he talked about Hex getting to new lows at that time. Now, keep in mind, we were like, I think this was after we had that jump up to 12, 13 cents on the testnet V3, whatever it was, news V4, whatever the hell. But they were saying on that stream, like, hey, we could go below 2 cents again. And I remember that was like controversial. Well, we've gone pretty decently below 2 cents. And yeah, I don't know specifically. I'm sorry, I forgot Compton 310. I don't know. I don't remember specifically what Waters Above said necessarily for like the ecosystem. I did hear him say like that for him, EHEX, like 0.3 of a penny was definitely still in play, which, I mean, that's 1/10 of a penny away. And I've heard that number for a while.
We're right there already at 0.4. So,
but if you want to expand, you totally can, Compton. I didn't quite hear what else he said on like the rest of the ecosystem, but hey, I mean, if all you're doing is cold-blooded looking at the chart, yeah. I mean, I saw Jenkins at Cosmo Jenkins, I think it is, earlier today on Twitter, was talking about like descending triangles forming all over the ecosystem. Could we be putting in another bottom? Is it going to be a lower low? I mean, yeah, it is. Nobody knows for sure what's coming, but yeah, any actual technical sign you would be looking at right now is like we might be getting some lower prices, but
yeah,
you know,
it's possible.
But anyway, did you have any thoughts on?
No, not really. No, I didn't see the stream. I usually try to catch Coffee's. Occasionally, he puts out a fair amount, but I try to catch them. I just didn't catch this one, so I'm not aware of what he actually said or what levels he was looking at. But we've been talking about this. There is a chance to go down further, and that's why I said still good to DCA if possible. Because this rubber band is really starting to crank up, but all it takes is another big seller or two. I think we lost the number 18. I believe it was 18.
The
sacrifice number 18, like in volume. Just the other day, sold it all in one clip. So, things like that happen. People need the money for whatever reason. People no longer believe for whatever reason. We're involved with this stuff every day. We read Twitter. We do a lot of things every day. We're involved. Don't forget, there are people that are not online, people that may have sacrificed a lot of money, that may have just even found out that Richard and the SEC filed suit or whatever it might be. You know, if you put that much money into a sacrifice, chances are you're probably following a little closer than that. But yeah, there's people that still may not know everything that's going on. So there is a chance. There is a chance we could get some more dumpers, but again, it just should help ratchet that price back up when it's that time. So
yeah. Keep in mind with some of the, like those, the number 18 overall sacker and some whales and stuff like that. I mean, we have no idea what some of these people's, real overall financial situation is. I don't think that should be looked at as indicative. Like, a lot of people like to track whales to, like, they're in the know and I want to see what they're doing or whatever. Hey, if somebody just didn't want to play the game any longer and had enough money that they were happy with and they just don't care and they sell it, okay. You know what I mean? It's like that people down below that are not usually in that situation, and we still need much bigger funds through retail to come into this market. So I wouldn't be worried about anything like that. I don't know how many people really are, but I mean, when you see somebody do that, that doesn't mean that, like, oh, they know something I don't know. It's just that they're at a different situation in life, and that's what they did, whatever. And I'm not even going to hate on them, calling them paper hands necessarily either. I'd save that for, like, more like smaller fish who just can't wait it out. That's more what I would save that comment for.
And you can't use TA for that kind of thing either. Like you said, you just don't know what their situation is. Here we'll see. So Waters Above said the stock market is too high. He sees blood in the market coming. I'm ready to buy at lows. Michael Burry shorting the stock market. Oh, I did see that.
Okay, so those are two different things. So,
yeah,
I mean, I know he probably knows the stock market and crypto are two different markets, but specifically though, they haven't been correlated for quite a while here, like this year. I mean, like, the stock market has actually been heating up, and Michael Burry shorted the stock market. He didn't, I never see him tweet anything about crypto, but I wouldn't look at that as being that closely tied to what the crypto market is going to do right now. I mean, yeah, we could see dips clearly, but I would not be worried about a S&P 500 viewpoint, compared to crypto necessarily right now.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Ewok, but they really haven't been that tied lately because the stock market had been doing better. So
yeah, it has. Yeah, I really don't follow it.
I will say to Compton, obviously I'm not financial advice, as we say, but with Michael Burry, look, I've been tricked by that before as well. He will frequently delete his account after a tweet and erase everything that I saw. He does have some tweets up right now, but I want to say sometime last year when things were going on in the market, he tweeted simply the word sell and then deleted the account. Like, just deactivated the account, and the market took off. And everybody was like, what did just happen to this guy? So,
is he the new Jim Cramer?
Right. Yeah. Well, Jim Cramer, to his credit, still just keeps showing up every single day, unlike Michael Burry, I guess. But yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So don't hang your hat on stuff like that. I know it's tempting, and you can get fooled because, like, these people are really smart. But remember, what's been going on with the stock market recently has not been tied to crypto. I would not worry about anything like that. And again, what's your plan here? Like, if that kind of stuff, and I'm not, like, criticizing you or anything, but if your plan is, like, what is your time horizon? If, like, the crypto bags you're holding are reserved for this coming bull market, this quarter shouldn't matter that much to you. I understand it can be hard to get through some of these times, but what happens by the end of this year shouldn't really be that major of a deal. So What's Clifton got here?
Oh, he's got a good point. It says, great to be here, folks. This is a new released L1 DEX for 6 months of a chain, wrought with downside pressure. Don't be short-sighted. Let's get the paper hands out. Bears stop when sells stop. So, yeah, I mean, that's as simple as it is. When there's no one left to sell, that's when we go up.
Yeah,
simple as that.
We quote Sami a lot, but guess what? So does Crypto Coffee. So does a lot of other channels, and it's because Sami's one of the best, in my opinion. Yeah. And he constantly talks about, like, is it December 2025 yet? Is it, spring of 2025 yet? No, then just keep moving on and DCAing, and don't worry about anything right now. We're not out of the woods, just bottom line, So thanks for your comments, though, Compton, in the super chat. We appreciate it. It is a good point to bring up, though. I want to transition here. We're still going to stay on these same root topics, but if you guys are enjoying the stream so far, hit the like. We very much appreciate it. We're here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm skipping the SBF thing because I don't care about it, and we have way too many more important things to talk about. If I don't know if you want to say anything on it, Ewok, but cool. All right.
He belongs in jail.
Good. Yeah, real criminal in real jail. So
he literally robbed people blind. That's where he belongs.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But this rags to riches stream that had everybody up in up in their fields last week and everything with this attorney who I don't know if he actually I don't think he disclosed his name. I did follow him. I forget his handle or what his Twitter name is. Shoot, I'll see if I can find him. But law something. Somebody's going to have it in the chat. Law.
I think it's bit law.
You're right. Yeah. So I enjoyed that stream. I mean, I didn't enjoy like what he had to say necessarily, but I thought it was worthwhile to approach this whole SEC and Richard Hart situation. If anybody did miss it, I would go check it out. It was Rags to Riches a day last week that I can't remember. With BitLaw, and he really was approaching it overall more so looking at the SEC side of things, what they can do. And also that's the positioning of most of Rag's questions. He was asking like, what should we expect? What should Richard Hart expect? What will the SEC do? And there was a lot of scary sounding stuff like, oh, they could come seize hex.com and, all these ways that they could continue to bleed Richard dry if he doesn't, do exactly what they ask for here. A lot of scary sounding stuff that a lot of people I think took as like, this is what's going to happen. But I think it was more like, this is what a worst case scenario could look like, depending upon what Richard decides to do, whether he is going to speak with them and try to work something out, which is what happens in the overwhelming majority of these cases, or if he tries to fight it until the bitter end, whatever it may be. But a lot of the scenarios that Lawbit threw out sounded scary. I mean, to me, like I said, the like seizing of the front ends or whatever, like the websites and stuff like that, and then freezing his assets and all this, basically just squeezing him out. So you can't you don't have any options. So what was your impression overall of the stream, and how did you come out feeling about it?
So if you do go back and watch it, keep in mind, it's not bullish at all. There is a lot of FUD, and I do want to thanks Clifton for the super chat. We appreciate it. So it's not bullish at all. It's very filled with FUD and some scary stuff. But I believe it's worst case scenario type thing. Honestly, the SEC, I still feel that they're more in a money grab position. That's why they're going after all these things. That's why they won't provide clarity to people. It's a money grab as far as I'm concerned. I don't think they want to. They don't want clarity. They want a whole bunch of people that are confused on what the rules are. So that they can continue to sue, they can continue to get, resolution and settlements here and there, plea deals, things like that, to pay fines and just feed their little whatever they've got going on. I mean, I really think that's what it is. Yes, it was very scary. There was a lot of things that they said that they could do. But will they? Who knows? I mean, from what I understand, there's a tough judge who...
I did see that. Yeah.
Who had some pretty awful rulings against somebody else. I don't even remember who it was, but, they want to try it in New York, in that district, with this judge who is just... not crypto friendly at all.
She's also about 80, by the way. I know we're all a little bit sick of the age of a lot of these people. Yeah. She's about 80 years old, I saw.
Yeah. So it's not pro crypto at all. And, a lot of the things that he said, you have to take it with a grain of salt too, because, we all know how intelligent Richard is. And I'm sure he's schooling his lawyers. I don't know how much he'll get to talk. It's usually the lawyers that do the talking, but
Right.
You know, we all know Richard's probably just as smart, if not smarter than the lawyers. So I'm sure they'll be spending some time together, educating them on a lot of these talking points too. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't good, but again, I think it was a worst case scenario type deal. And I think we'll be somewhere in the middle. I think that's our worst case, is really somewhere in the middle. Could they freeze the funds? Maybe. What if it's a multi-sig wallet? That means he has to get everybody to give up keys, right? We just don't know. And as far as spending funds, I'm sure he can probably prove that pretty quickly too, that it wasn't the wrong funds. So that gets thrown out. There were no funds misappropriated. They're still there. So I think again, it was a very worst case scenario. And you should probably plan for somewhere in the middle to be the worst case.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to find the name of that judge. I remember I read about the other incident where she, I forget the exact story, but she basically, she basically took action against some kind of crypto entity before it even hit court, like just unilaterally did. But I do think it was about 6 years ago. I think it was in 2017 when she would have been just like a young 74 or something like that. But yeah, it was a little while ago, I think. So we'll see. I mean, like, yeah, you can look at every angle of everything in life, and oh my God, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem. And like, let's just wait and see what happens here, because you could also look at, hey, this is an elderly judge who might not want to deal with this garbage and doesn't understand it. And it's like, why are you bringing this to my district? Uniswap? What are you talking about? And all this. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I hang again, just like with the Michael Burry stuff and everything, hanging by everybody's word to that level is just not going to be helpful, I don't think. So
agree.
Yeah, Clifton. So we'll see how that turns out. And hey, kudos to Rags too. There should not be any hate on Rags to Riches. I'm glad that he had that interview, and he's also seeking out attorneys because there was really not many lines of questioning from Rags. So I don't think it was even their intent to discuss, okay, if that is the SEC's course of action, if you're Richard, what do you do? I know everybody likes to hate on us and everybody else in Hex for bowing to Richard and everything like that, but we know how smart of a guy he is. So we may not know what kind of tricks he could have up his sleeve. So even if anybody comes out saying, well, here's what Richard could do, there could be other stuff that we haven't even thought of. And we're just simply not him. So we don't know how prepared he is for this and what specifically he's ready to dish back,
And we don't even know if he's answered. We don't know.
I don't think he has, actually.
I don't know how long he has for them to do whatever he's got to do. If they've even been able to serve him, who knows? It's really hard to say at this point what kind of timeline we're even looking at. You know what I mean?
I totally agree. Definitely months anyway, I believe. But BitLaw did mention that he checked the docket though of, I guess, that jurisdiction or what that courthouse would be, and there was no answer to any of it from his side of things yet, from Richard's side. So I think it makes sense to transition, and I was going to go into the HEDRON stuff next, but let's go to Richard Hart's some of his tweeting from the last week, because I know you wanted to approach it, Ewok, because I like that he's not worrying about streaming or anything right now. And, all of these different ecosystems, like whether it's Ethereum with Vitalik, Charles Hoskinson with Cardano and stuff like that, we and anybody in Hex or PulseChain have been spoiled by what Richard has kind of provided over the last few years. He came up from doing streams like that and really educating people before launching anything. So that's all been great. But you got to remember that, with a lot of these, you're not seeing these people come out streaming all the time that helped create these entities or anything. So I don't see any issues with this, even though I'd like to see him. I'm not going to lie. I'd like to see him speak. But it seems like the tweets are kind of in long form that are kind of taking the place of things themes that he would talk about, just not as fleshed out maybe as he would be able to in a stream. But if you have some of the ones you wanted to look at, Ewok, because I think you can actually maybe parse out like some of what he is thinking. Like he is kind of directly, indirectly kind of laying out what some of the basis of some of his arguments will be, I think with some of this stuff with the SEC. But which ones did you want to touch on? Or I have a couple bookmarked if you were trying to find them.
The biggest one was more the education. I think when I brought this up to you, it was the one where I'll just read it because there's
I see
lot
it.
of. It's the one that says Richard Hart teaches you things no one else can or will. He said, you do not custody coins. The blockchain does. You don't send coins. You publish updates to the database. It says the coins are right where they always were, which means they don't leave the blockchain. The database gets updated with the, the wallet address that they're in. You do not have a cryptocurrency wallet. You have a keychain. Every address was created and published by individuals through their own labor. Every update was created and published by individuals through their own labor. There aren't really any coins, just numbers people have a penchant for, like characters in literature. Kind of interesting that he goes into that because, again, it kind of does go back to the things that he probably will use as an argument, but this stuff is important.
Right.
It says, if the value was in your wallet, the value would double when you copied your wallet. It doesn't. If the value was in the blockchain, the value would double when the blockchain was copied. It doesn't. The value is a shared fiction, subjective and volatile, subject to whim and fancy, yet worth billions. You don't use the blockchain, you run it. It's software. In the blockchain, you're not a user, you're a publisher. Blockchain software is publishing software. Speech is speech. Code is speech. The blockchain is both speech and publishing software, and as such, should be doubly protected, like you would protect books and the pen. So, pretty eloquent. I mean, he laid it out. It's just, I just like how he worded everything, and it goes back to our freedom of speech and those type of things, where he's kind of turning it all back and saying, hey, these are constitutional rights. I'm not sure what the problem is here, but the way I see it, this is what's going on, and these are constitutional rights. I'm not sure why you have the right to infringe on any of our rights.
Yeah, that is the thing, is a lot of like just explaining the blockchain and what it actually is, and the concept of wallets, and how it's not so much a wallet as it is kind of more of a keychain to what you have access to that's just on the blockchain.
Exactly.
I think people don't. I know most people don't understand that in this world yet, and keep in mind, like, as much as everybody's gonna, not really now, they'll move on to the next fun story like SBF, literally the week after the Richard Hart thing. But, a lot of people are going to continue to focus on, I totally just lost my train of thought. Now I'm stalling. Basically the logistics of this stuff and what he's actually talking about. And they don't understand how this stuff actually works, is basically what I'm saying. And they're attacking the guy. They don't understand how this stuff works, and they're not going to focus on the actual technology of it because they just don't understand it. So,
it's good. I mean, like I said, he's going to need to educate. I hope he is able to do some educating once they see how intelligent he is, and it's not just the lawyers, but we'll have to see.
I know what I was going to say is, like, everybody for a week was acting as if like it was just Hex, it was just PulseChain, it was just Richard Hart that's under this microscope. The whole industry's been under this microscope.
Yeah.
Like it's not just our ecosystem, and that misery loves company. I think it's a good thing to remember that, like, the SEC went down that list and basically named like all top 10 market cap tokens. Right. They're all securities, and now Richard Hart's getting sued. It's not just this ecosystem. So.
Well, I don't know why they're picking on us. We're 201. I mean,
yeah, we're not even anywhere near up there. So yeah, keep us back at 201, please. So he also, we don't need to read it because it's even longer. And I think a lot of stuff we do talk about a lot, but he also had a really nice tweet with like 8 bullet points about Hex just in general, which I thought was really good stuff. So check that one out as well. But I agree with you that tweet right there, that's him kind of laying the basis for some of the themes he would talk about in you know, against the SEC in court. So we'll see how it goes, but I do value that he's tweeting that stuff.
Yeah. No, I do too. And, you know, Richard has always done a great job educating people. And now he may have to, you know, switch tactics a little bit. We'll see him eventually. You know, maybe this is, you know, he has always talked about Satoshi bowing out, but he kind of rags on him when he does that. That's why I thought, you know, I don't think Richard will go away. I just think right now the circumstances are that he probably needs to, or has been advised to, as to just not say anything that would either incriminate him by accident or whatever it may be, and to just play it safe. So all good. Welcome in, Briz.
Yeah, welcome in, Briz, the plaintiff. I don't know if you saw his the Judge Judy. I mean, did you see all that?
I didn't. I saw the pictures.
Awesome.
I haven't seen the actual video though.
No, I haven't seen that either. I don't think he wants that necessarily out. But I heard him.
I'm sure we can find it.
Well, I was watching the Maddie stream last night. It was my favorite part. It's like an hour and a half in, and he's just like, "Do you guys know I was on Judge Judy once?" And I was like, "What the hell is?" I thought it was a joke set up. I thought it was like some elaborate joke. It was cool to hear the background of all that. It's actually real cases. So yeah. Yeah, so maybe we should just get into that topic now. Since Briz just tweeted about it, let's do it because we're 40 minutes in here. So, all right, people, I don't know who they are. I don't remember their names because I just saw tweets and didn't really take note of it. But there is a growing contingency of people that are involved in this ecosystem that don't like the idea of touting the 38% APY and think that it's damaging. I think a lot of it is coming from maybe some of the reviews of the film and how people are reacting to that, and how, look, I think if you see that and you think that means 38% returns in dollars, you're just, I don't know. I mean, you're obviously not in crypto yet or anything. So to me, I think most of us understand it's not in dollar terms, it's in Hex terms. But
yes,
I personally am fine with it as long as that is or is about the average returns on what the market has decided to stake Hex at. I see no issues. I actually like it. Hey, as somebody who creates thumbnails that I try to get people to click on, numbers work flat out. It's in the data. It 100% works better than most other strategies. And it's not a lie. I think it's good. I think it's effective. I like it, but there's been people, and I didn't really see many of the arguments against it. I would love to hear people in the chat if they think it's detrimental, that we should change the messaging, or if there's a better message. I'm certainly open to hearing it. But what do you think, Ewok? I mean, I've never really looked at this as that big of a problem, but maybe I have a spot.
I mean, it is one of those numbers that do sound scammy. It does, because people can't fathom 38% APY. Yes, it is in Hex terms, but again, people are used to making like 0.2% at their bank. And when they hear 38% APY, they're like, can't be real. Can't be real. What are they? It's got to be a Ponzi. They're taking new money and paying, you know, the people with the new money to the old people. So I get it. It's not believable, even though it is true. Although I think the number has come down a little bit. So I was looking at some of my stakes, and I noticed that, you know, I do a 5555 every month, so that it ends. So I will continuously always have one a month coming out. And I noticed that some of them, you know, the further they go, the higher the number gets. So it starts out low. So when you're looking at your newer stakes or whatever, the number shows lower. But as you look back in time, that number creeps up on go.hex.com anyway, because it does show you the APY that you've earned. And some of the older ones I have some still that are from the early days that are 90% AP, so
Yeah.
it's crazy, but that does involve some big payday as well,
Mhm.
which jacks it up a lot. So yeah, my thought is I would almost rather, like Grizz said, is quote the 10-11% per year APY in Hex. Um, it's more believable. It's not as outrageous as 38%. And then just tell them the longer you stake it, you do get a 20% bonus every additional year. Um, so for every 5 years, that's a lot. That it adds up a lot as far as your T shares go. And as people exit the system, as that T share rate goes up, you know, it gets pretty attractive. But you have to explain the whole system for people to even think about understanding it. And like I said, I think people would understand, about 10% a year. Um, to get their feet wet for new people as they get into the system, then they can learn, hey, if I stake it an average of 7 or 8 years now, I think that's about the average length. I could make up to that. So, you gotta kind of put the training wheels on for people. I think it's more believable. That's kind of where I stand on it. I don't really push that 38% number
Right.
when I talk to people about it. I do talk about smaller rates, and if it's a year, because honestly, to get somebody new walking in here to actually make a 5555, it usually isn't going to happen. They've got
Yeah.
to figure out the system, do a couple stakes, see that it works, and then you can approach these numbers. But just to throw it out there, yeah, I'm fine with getting rid of it, and just making it 10% yearly.
But you would agree, though, that, like it's not an inaccurate statement to say, even though the number would obviously fluctuate, but that hex miners, as it says on the website, on average make 38% APY in hex. I mean, that's not a false statement.
It's not. Now it has gone down a little bit. I think it
Yeah.
is like 35 or 36, maybe
Right.
not 38. But still, it like I said, it's the perception more than anything, that people just can't fathom that you can get those kind of returns.
I get that. Yeah. So what I guess the issue is for people is just really the advertising of that
Yeah,
number,
yeah,
because it just seems like it can't be real to people.
yeah.
Yeah.
Advertising, it's perception. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things too. I see both sides of the coin, because I understand, like, yeah, when you talk about sales or something, you want to have sticky sales. Don't deceive the customer or leave stones unturned. You want to make sure they don't cancel or return or whatever your product is. But you also want to get them in, or at least get the conversation started, and that is something to catch the eye, that when further explained, you can understand further. So I'll be on. I mean, I see both sides of the coin, frankly. Um, I don't know that anybody can just decide whether or not it should be used and whether people are going to use it. It's free speech. People are going to use what they want to use. I mean,
Yep,
based on
exactly.
roughly what the number is. So, yeah, but it is still on the front page of Hex. So, I mean, it is still there, but it was on the race car, of course, I know too. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm interested to get. I mean, if you guys have thoughts in the chat, I would like to hear what you guys think. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I understand completely advertising it that way. I don't feel like it's that detrimental. And here's the thing too. It could be different based on like what part of the cycle we're in. When you start to see people aping back in and retail coming back and they see 38%, you're going to have a lot more eyes being caught at that point than at a time like this. I think that's definitely going to be true. Yeah, SEC didn't have a problem with it. What do you got going on there, Ewok? You all right?
Yeah, it's
Camera
just a
good?
little blurry.
Oh, okay, I got you. So yeah, so that's where we are with that. But I'd like to get you guys' thoughts. Hit the like if you're still here. We do this every week at Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's get into this. This HEDRON update from Alex. So unbelievably smart guy. I think like one of the smartest people we have in this whole community. Obviously, he's the creator of HEDRON and ICOSA. He hopped on with Crypto Sloth last week for about an hour and spoke about all this. But he's looking at, they aren't done yet, but making some upgrades to HEDRON and ICOSA that my cursory knowledge of what I really did see was kind of that he was speaking of the problem of the tokens, like all these tokens being on two chains and some of the confusion that could give somebody. So what did you make of what he released a statement on? I know Telegram, he had it on there, and then he also had that stream. So what do you make of what Alex McWhirter was saying about what he's doing with HEDRON and ICOSA here?
I like it. Dude's big brain.
And big beard too. Yeah, I saw old videos of him where he had your beard.
Your PulseChain bushy beard.
Yeah.
I saw those too. Yeah, he's super intelligent. Basically, what he's doing, he's taking away the E-hex P-hex argument, which is better. Before it becomes an issue in HEDRON, it just hasn't gotten there yet. And I think he was kind of just like beating to the punch. So I like it. I like the idea. Some cool stuff. They're gonna be able to stake bridge tokens, no matter which side you bridge from. There's you can bid on the auctions with the bridge tokens. Like, are you familiar with a lot of the things that the update involves?
Not a lot. No. I mean, I read his document quickly and watched a little bit of that stream. That was about it.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of cool updates. Now, he said what we're planning on doing is difficult. And as we all know, software is hard. So he's anticipating fourth quarter sometime. I don't know, unless he's been working on it for quite some time already, how he can knock that out. But again, he's a super smart dude. So they are changing the verbiage to HMI, which is a hex mining instance, instead of an HSI, which is the staking instance. What else was there? They have leveraged borrowing. So as it stands right now with HEDRON, if you decide to borrow against your HSI, you can only borrow against the amount of HEDRON that you've earned. I guess you're going to be able to borrow against a future amount as well. But it increases the payout. I forget how that technical side of it went on like paying it back. But that's pretty cool. You're going to be able to do multiple stakes now in one wallet rather than just one, because currently you can only have one HEDRON stake and one ICOSA stake in your per wallet. So you're going to be able to do multiple ones in one wallet. But yeah, just the staking of the bridge tokens I thought was pretty cool. And if he's able to pull that off, it's going to be pretty neat. I think that Hex could possibly do something like that. I don't think they'll mess with it. Again, that's part of the immutable contract, immutable code that I don't think will get messed with. But wouldn't it be cool if you could stake and unstake your E-hex on the PulseChain to save those fees? That would be an awesome protocol.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. So if something like that could be done, but I really think you have to almost come up with another version of the token.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. So there'll be a cash in period where you trade your old HEDRON in for your new HEDRON, but it would stay on the same chain. It doesn't like combine itself, is what I kind of thought that they would do originally. But it wouldn't make sense, because if you have more on one chain than the other chain, then you wouldn't be able to do it equally. So yeah, you're just trading it in for the version 2, Now, version 1 will still exist because, again, that's an immutable contract as well. So it will continue to work. I just don't know how much liquidity will be provided for it. So pretty neat stuff, though. Like I said, the guy's he's a critical thinker, fixes the problems. But yeah, just being able to bid on the auctions with coins from either side is pretty cool too. And then the staking of them as well. Just some interesting technology coming for sure.
Once that Pandora's box is open with Hedron, I mean, yeah, if something like that could be created for Hex on Ethereum to be used on PulseChain to stake would be insane. Yeah, very interesting stuff. I mean, you already obviously have you can buy eHex on PulseChain anyway. But yeah, as far as staking it through that protocol, you wouldn't be able to do it through there unless it was the Pulse version of the token, of course. But it definitely is exciting stuff. And it led me, I wanted to ask you this question, I guess, because since we don't talk about HEDRON and ICOSA tons on here, not that we, just because there's so much else going on, it's not like a conscious effort to not talk about them. But it is another one of those great incentives, like we talked about earlier in the show, in addition to those Hex stakes, to make sure you mint your HEDRON prior to ending the stakes. And then you've got that human crypto centipede of staking, basically, where you can just stake your HEDRON for ICOSA, stake your ICOSA for more ICOSA and HEDRON, and just it continues to go on. I wanted to ask you, Ewok, just you personally, we can share what our strategies have kind of been, and I'd like to hear what maybe some other people are doing. But correct me if I'm wrong, I think you've been more so a guy who isn't necessarily you haven't really been buying market HEDRON or ICOSA ever. You've really just minted what you do from all of your Hex stakes and then just get them in that perpetual staking, platform with HEDRON and ICOSA after that. Right. Are you actually market buying any, or are you just like taking the free stuff that you're getting?
Well, no, I haven't really market bought since early. Early on I did. I bought some and then realized how much I was minting because I was lucky enough to be early, and I got 9x or 10x bonuses on just about every stake that I have.
Right.
So, there's really, again, not a need for me to market buy, but I am staking it. So, I'm while I'm not a net buyer, I'm also not a net seller either. So, you know. So honestly, no, I haven't personally bought any as of late. So
yeah, I was just curious because I know like a lot of people, especially if you were in early into Hex, you have a substantial enough amount of HEDRON you can mint that, it's beneficial and you don't really have to worry about buying it. But I have market bought it too, but it's just good to keep it in that perpetual loop, I think, of just gaining that interest because, it wasn't long ago that ICOSA was up at like what? I think 70 cents at one point, and how quickly we do forget. So those are going to be things that do come back, and I'm really excited about the stuff that Alex is doing. And somebody who probably outside of Richard, and obviously we have other great platforms and products being built on PulseChain, but as far as specific to the product of Hex, outside of the devs that created PulseChain and made PulseChain, Alex and what he's doing with HEDRON has been one of the best things that's been created around Hex, I think, really. So
I agree.
Yeah,
I do want to touch on some of the stuff here in the chat. I'm not going to put them all up here.
I think I know who you're talking about.
That Pulse player said, personally, he doesn't think that's him tweeting. He's ditched the community. I don't think that,
Richard.
Yeah, I don't think that at all. I think he has been advised to step back. Again, from what I said earlier, and to not incriminate himself or give them anything else. You state, according to the community, there's nothing to hide. Well, there's not yet, but you don't want him to come out and say something and they go, aha, gotcha, on a mistake or something that gets said or misconstrued or anything like that. I would just rather not, leave it to chance. And And honestly, like you said, how many other founders are there? Like, they don't need to be there. He doesn't need to be there. This community has brilliant people. Alex is one of them. You know, you've got Dipcatcher, you've got all these guys that are just super smart coders, developers, and big brains. You know, let's let this play out before we can, think that Richard is just abandoning people. That's not the case. You know, he loves this community. He's said it many times. We have to support what he's doing. And if it's to not stream for a while, then it's to not stream for a while. So that's just where I stand on that whole conversation going on in chat.
I imagine part of what that chatter is thinking also is that Richard Hart tweet we read tonight began with calling himself his own name in the third person, and Hart was not capitalized. So that I, even when I saw that the other day, I mean, it reads like maybe somebody else wrote it. So I kind of understand maybe if that's where he's coming from, but I don't even remotely think he's abandoned anything or anything like that. I mean, that's just not, if you are, and I'm not talking to that viewer specifically, if anyone in general is that susceptible to, kind of fudding themselves. I know we overuse FUD, but like out of a position based on thoughts like that, then you just probably don't have enough long-term conviction, and maybe it just isn't for you. I don't know what to tell you, because that's just not, not something I'm going to worry about. Frankly, if not that this would ever happen. I mean, Richard's never going to come out and say, I will never appear on a stream again. Just heads up, everybody. Like, that's not going to happen.
No.
But if he were to not ever stream again, I it shouldn't be an issue. Like, that's the things that people need to, I think, separate themselves from. I want him to, for sure, just because I like to hear his thoughts. In the same way, I also like to hear Charles Hoskinson's thoughts, even though I don't really buy his product. Like, he's a smart guy, believes in a lot of the values I do, and it's nice to see the face every now and then. So go ahead.
So Clifton has a question here. Like, what do you think the total market cap prediction is for the next bull run? He thinks we hit 4 trillion last time, and do we eclipse that, and by how much? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I think we get over that market cap. I don't know what number I would put on it. That's a tough one. I mean, that's one. What are we actually at right now? For total market cap. I don't really look at it too much. Not that it moves that much either, but
I forget what it is. I think it's just total, right?
1.17, it looks like, trillion is the total.
Crypto.
Yeah, I'm a Coin Paprika. It's in the upper right hand corner, but yeah, it's hard to say. I'm trying to remember if it was actually at 4 trillion last time. I thought it was only at 3, but it's hard to say. I mean, I think that I'm not sure what it did in the last bull run as far as the actual market cap overall. But yeah, I mean, I think we easily surpassed where we were before. But this is something that we've been talking about for a long time. And a lot of people have acknowledged this scenario for more so the Bitcoin price than the overall market cap is that kind of everybody has been calling for 6-figure BTC since the last cycle and it never came. So is this one of those ones where, again, most people in this industry think that is going to happen. And sometimes when that is a scenario, when everybody's thinking the same thing, it just flat out doesn't happen. So I don't know. I mean, we could see a more muted number, I think, even by the BTC price, even by the market cap price. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to throw out like a specific number.
Yeah, it was
more like a range.
3 trillion back in November of 21 was the top. It looks like it's about
that's what I thought.
3.004 billion or trillion. I'm sorry. Was the high. I think it really just depends on how much money gets printed. It's one of those things that are just right now such an unknown that we're gonna have to wait and see when they turn the money machines on, how much capital goes in from things like BlackRock and these ETF, the funds that could jack it up in itself by $1 trillion. You know what I mean? Just the money from that alone. So yeah, it's a hard prediction. Does it double? I don't know if it gets to 6, but it it could probably get over 5 if you
Mhm.
want a random number and just throwing numbers out there and seeing what sticks. We'll have to see. I think it could go from 3 to 5. Every cycle gets a little bit more. Um,
Yeah.
as the adoption S curve kind of thing happens, I could see it almost doubling again. I think.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah, I could see that as well. And even, it's also going to be like what to me, I mean, we may end up looking at like what our favorite products are going to do price wise as well. But yeah, I do think that the total market cap, I think 5 is probably a good estimate as well. So
yeah.
we'll see where it goes. But I want to finish off on these couple of things. So let us talk real quick about this P die thing. I want to get as best you can your understanding of it, Ewok. And there's a lot of very smart people who just have not. Like I saw Coffee earlier today. Just said, hey, in the comments, like just tell me what is going on with PDI, what is going on with what is it, Atropa? Is that what
Mm-hmm.
the word is? Yeah.
Atropa, yeah.
What's going on with that? What is going on with these? Also the oh my god, I'm forgetting that other token. Not Richard Hart was right, but thank you, Richard Hart. So what?
TYRH.
TYRH. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all these things going on that have a little bit to possibly do with each other. What is going on? And if you somehow haven't seen this, so the P die is basically, we're not talking about the die that you would bridge over from Ethereum. If you bridge over die from Ethereum to the Pulse chain, which we've all maybe done already at this point to buy stuff, you're just going to get your 1-for-1
Right.
Ethereum die on Pulse chain. What we're talking about is the copy whenever the actual like system state split happened of die on Pulse chain that was like valueless to start with. So that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about what you would bridge over. So it's pumping up. All these people are calling for a pegging. It's going to get to $1 and all this stuff. It has been shooting way up. I forget what price. It basically a couple of days ago would have needed like a 4,000x to get to $1. Now it's down to about a 1,500x.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you make of what's going on with this, Ewok?
All right. It's just kind of it's just what I've picked up in the last 24 hours, whatever. So some of my facts could be wrong, so don't hold me to it. But I don't honestly think that it will ever reach parity. The way DAI operates is it is an algorithmic stablecoin. So it relies on a lot of things. Number one being an oracle that is tied to the price of Ethereum mainly. It takes Ethereum, and the way DAI is created is by loans. Okay, so there are loans. Think of liquid loans and the way they're doing their protocol, very similar to the way DAI is working with Maker, and it is algorithmic. It is when people mint new, they're putting up collateral. So DAI is heavily collateralized, and needs to be that way for the protocol to work. Um, I don't think, because it doesn't, number one, have an oracle on PulseChain, it also doesn't have the things that it's looking for, because it is a system state copy. So that copy is looking for Ethereum. Well, it doesn't have Ethereum on PulseChain. So it's not going to get correct data. It's not going to be ever able to reach $1, because that would mean it's also looking for the price of Tether. It's also looking for the price of USDC. It's also looking for Ethereum. It also has some Bitcoin, I think. There's a lot of things that oracle looks for to make sure that the prices are actually correct. And in order to do all of that stuff, to get all of that stuff up to regular value, I think someone said you need about $40 billion to not only get the prices up there, but to also collateralize them enough to get them to stay.
Right.
And there's just not that kind of there's not that kind of volume and money that's going into this to make that happen. As far as Atropa and TRYH and the other orange coins and stuff like that,
Yeah, I forgot the orange
they're
one.
all meme coins, guys. That's really all they are. I know there was some arbitrage opportunity with the PDI situation
Right.
between PDI and USDC and Pulse. Because Dipcatcher again put out a very nice thread. You should read
That
through
was
it
the best thread, probably.
if you haven't. And this is just what he was doing, and it's
I'm gonna see if I can find it and put it in the chat while you're talking.
yeah, I would. But so he was essentially, he found a code built into the DAI contract that it uses to self arbitrage, basically to keep the prices, or that people can call as a public function. And he was taking Pulse, running the contract, minting the PDI, selling it back, and arbitraging the price between PDI and USDC to get those to parity. Which, you know, again, he had to write up a Python script in order to do it. Like I said, go back and read his tweet whenever you get it posted there.
Yeah, he's been tweeting a lot about this, so I'm trying to. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, there's no way to peg it to a dollar. We are going to have to wait for our, you know, PulseChain stable coins to be released. We've already got one, the CST token. Coast is up and running as of right now. I got my onboard done yesterday, so I had a little issue that support helped me out with easily. You know, I had signed up for it when it was in beta, and I never got the initial then KYC in order to use it once the new product launched with the different bank. So they had to basically delete my account, and I had to start over. So
okay, I got you.
got that all taken care of. Now just waiting for Plaid to be able to talk to my bank, and that's the only problem. Or, I mean, you know, you can always wire money. Eventually they'll, here in the next however long, they're going to have access to cards, but you will be able to, you know, onboard right into the CST token, which is pegged to $1, and then trade into whatever you want on PulseChain easily. I do believe you will eventually be able to put it right into Pulse. I don't think you'll even have to take that step of going CST then to Pulse. So that'll be nice as well.
For sure, yeah. The easiest, quickest way to get into the market. Yeah, Coast is once that thing really gets up and rolling, it's going to be very good, I think, as this bull market kind of trudges on. So
I got sidetracked by this comment here.
I wouldn't even worry about that. Somebody already deleted it, I think.
I want to correct it though.
Okay.
But you know, you can still buy on Uniswap. There's plenty of front ends that work. You can't really, even though people say that Uniswap delisted it, they only delisted it from their own centralized front end. You know, we have Hex, we have app, or whatever it is, app.hedron.pro, no, swap.hedron.pro. There's plenty of front ends that you can still buy it on Louis. So get your facts straight.
Yeah. It's and keep in mind, I mean, like, people like him are good that they're going on to a Hex stream for some reason and saying this stuff. It's a good sign, because that's when you want to be buying, when there's people doing stuff like this, not whenever like your grandfather's asking how to get on Uniswap or something like that. So it is a good sign for sure. And hey, just speaking about stuff that's actually failing, I would be remiss. This is just broke basically in the last couple of hours. Sami was tweeting about it, but now everybody on Twitter pretty much is. So I don't follow Shiba Inu, but I did know that they were working on this whole Shiberium ecosystem and launching like their own layer 1, I believe, that is Shiberium, which has happened in the last couple of hours. Okay, everybody that's pissed off and has their panties in a bunch so far about PulseChain, which has had 100% uptime, just like Hex, no failures. Yes, maybe you don't have everything you want yet and stuff, and the price hasn't done what you wanted it to do. Well, the Shiberium bridge has not only been clogged up, but it sounds like funds have just gone missing. So people have attempted to bridge onto it, and their ETH is actually gone. And now the chain is just down. Okay. So this is a high. You guys know what the SHIB community is like. It did actually better than Hex, I believe, performance-wise, Shiba Inu in the last run. So this was a highly anticipated chain, and it is failing on day one. Okay. So we need to not underestimate like just what it takes to get these products to market, how long it did take, and that they work well. You know, the worst thing we really had with PulseChain was the bridge clogging up because everybody was dying to get into the ecosystem on day one, and that lasted for what, a few days. So I just want everybody to be aware of that, because I'm going to be really interested to follow the Shiberium thing over the next few days, because it just looks like it's they're having massive issues right out of the gate. And it just goes to show you that this is not easy. You know, I know nobody's happy and the prices are down and everything, but everything has worked so far.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, I mean, there was a couple bugs with the payout with the V1, V2 Pulse X thing.
Right.
But other than that, I don't think there were any really problems with the network itself. At least not that were visible, that weren't fixed right away. Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you that things happen when you rush software, and this is how it works out for you when you don't take your time and do it the right way, the safe way. Yeah, bad things. I hope they find their funds. I really do, but
I don't know. I don't want to quote this as being real, but it seems like it's getting enough credibility that it may be. The dude, and again, I'm not super familiar with Shiba Inu and stuff, but the dude that created this, is it that Satoshi Kusama?
I have no idea who the
I think it's
creator
just a
is.
pseudonym. I don't think that's anybody's real name. I don't know if this is from a group, but on Twitter I see he says, today at 7:10 p.m. we fucked up hard. We can't recover the ETH bridged. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's real or not. Multiple people were tweeting a screenshot of it from him. But yeah, the blockchain is down and their bridged ETH is, some people's anyway, is gone. So yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in following this, even though I don't have interest in that ecosystem, because, you know, we are in one that has been more highly anticipated and everybody's upset about it. I want to see what happens with another one that's, you know, having this come right out of the gate here. So yeah, so definitely a story to continue to follow. So that's pretty much wraps it up. I just wanted to throw that in there at the end. Did you have anything else you wanted to go over tonight, Ewok?
Well, Hextronomer here has a question.
Yeah.
Not that I would promote selling right now, but I tell you how to do it. It's all your money. There is ethhex.com. You connect your MetaMask to it, no matter which chain you're on. If you have Hex or had Hex on Ethereum, then you most likely, if you had it before the PulseChain launched, got a copy. So you will have it on both chains, unless you just bought on one chain recently or did whatever. I'm thinking that you're talking about Hex on Ethereum. If that's not correct, you'll need to let us know, because if not, you'll have to change your MetaMask settings to PulseChain, and then go to app.pulsex.com. And yeah, there's plenty of tutorials out there. Just look it up on YouTube, how to sell Hex on ETH, but you have to specify which chain that you're talking about. So
yeah, if it is eHex, I mean, if it's literally on Ethereum and you try to connect that to PulseX, it'll tell you to change networks. It won't even let you do that. So you'd have to go on.
And if you go to pulsechain.com, there's a button that all you have to do is just have your MetaMask on, hit the button, and it'll send you right over to PulseChain. It'll put those settings in for you so that you don't have to type in the settings. You don't have a a risk of doing it the wrong way or anything like that. It's super easy.
Following up here, Hextronomer, you don't have to claim any copy on PulseChain.
No, it's automatically there.
Yeah, he just said that. If you already had Hex or whatever, any ERC20 token, if you add, we aren't going to get into this now, but if you just look up tutorials about how to add the PulseChain network to your MetaMask, add that network, go over to PulseChain, copy in the token addresses of your choice, and they will be there. There's nothing you have to do. There's no claiming, no fee, nothing like that. You just have to enter the codes and the contract addresses. So hope that helps. I can assure you there, like Ewok said, there's plenty of tutorials readily available on YouTube to help you do that stuff. So hey, I think this was a great show, talking a little bit about like Hex marketing and what is an effective message. Keep in mind, everybody, just like we all need a little bit of reassurance right now. Again, misery does love company, whatever. Watching Ben Cage's stream earlier today, I think is highly valuable. It was great to hear what he had to say. If you believe in this stuff and you're here for the long term and your target isn't for another couple of years anyway, why are we so worried about what's going on today? Just remember what your time horizon actually is. And remember, these are the hardest times. It's just going to continue to be hard. But sometimes, as hard as this is to hear, and trust me, I have a problem with it, just lasting and waking up every day and making sure you're still working towards that goal and not capitulating. Nobody can do that. Very few people can just follow through with a goal and just last day after day after day. Most people don't want to see anything like that through. If you have the ability to do that and stay strong, we just may be rewarded very handsomely. So, keep that in mind. But anything you want to add, Ewok?
No, man. Stake it, earn more. There's nothing you could do about it. It definitely helps with your mental state. So that's my recommendation.
I agree. It does.
Everybody's different. I don't want to give anybody advice that they don't want to listen to, but that's one of the best ways to handle these downtimes is to be earning more. It's almost like automatically dollar cost averaging in every single day without having to do anything. Like I said, I like to earn the, stake the HEDRON, stake the ICOSA, earn the free stuff right now while you can. You will thank yourself in about 14 or 15 months. When things hopefully are turned around and we're on the upswing, you'll look back at the things that you did now and be like, man, I'm sure glad I did that. So hang in there.
Absolutely.
We're getting there. You just got to tough through it. Get outside, go for a walk, play with your kids, do those type of things to get your mind straight, and you'll make it through.
Yeah. Work on other aspects of life, start something else. But hey, mentally prepare a plan for the bull market. How are you going to exit this? What's your plan going to be? That's something I've been working on the last few months as well. Like get a plan in place for that. So lots of things you can do to be working ahead. We do this every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hit the like on your way out if you haven't. We very much appreciate all you guys being here. We love talking to you every week. Lively chat as always. We'll catch you guys right here next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Creed of Crypto Podcast. Take it easy.